Good morning. Now we will study about the natural vegetation and wildlife. We know that what is natural vegetation. In the previous class we studied forest cover is necessary. The adequate forest cover or natural vegetation is necessary. Plants and trees are necessary for the conservation of water resources, or water, underground water can be replenished through the natural vegetation. So how much of percentage of natural vegetation is available, and this also exists in the on the earth's surface. So natural vegetation, plants and trees, and wildlife, animals or wildlife or wild animals, these all exist in a narrow region. Okay, not the entire atmosphere or other lithosphere exists in a narrow region, where narrow space or narrow zone. These animals and plants exist on the surface of the earth. We know that it remains on the surface of the earth. So this narrow zone, contacting between the lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere. We know that all these plants and animals, natural vegetation and wildlife, depending upon all these lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere. So this narrow zone we call as biosphere. Biosphere means the region or the narrow zone where the natural vegetation and wildlife exist or live. So in the biosphere, living beings are interlinked or interrelated and interdependent. We know that animals depend on the plants, and human beings depend on animals and plants also. Okay, so all these living beings are interdependent. Without depending each other, we cannot exist on the earth's surface. So the interdependence between these organisms or these animals and human beings, that means natural vegetation and wildlife, this is an interrelation for the survival of all these systems. So that this life supporting system is known as ecosystem, which means in the biosphere we know that living things and non-living things are there. Okay, so all these living things are interrelated or interdependent on each other. So plants are animals are depending on plants, human beings depend on animals and plants. So this interrelation is giving us a life support. Okay, so for our survival, this interdependence is important. So this life supporting system is known as ecosystem. So vegetation and wildlife are valuable resources. We know that plants are necessary, animals are necessary. So that in order to produce oxygen, we know plants produce oxygen which we breathe, and also they protect the soil. Okay, so it is essential for growing crops. Plants which are growing on the surface, we know, produces oxygen which we inhale. So it is necessary for the animals and human beings. Oxygen is necessary, so that plants produce. The plants also protects the soil, so that we are able to grow crops. Okay, also it helps in different types of storage of underground water also. We know when the plants also prevent the runoff. We have studied earlier class during the precipitation, during the rainy season, plants prevent the runoff, so that water will be absorbed by the soil and the water, underground water level increases. So which also plants give us some the natural vegetation also, or plants give us some sort of fruits, nuts, latex means rubber, or turpentine oil, gum, medicinal plants, etc. These are all obtained from the plants. Paper also we make from plants. So these are all the plants or natural vegetation is essential for our survival. So for our studies, we are using the notebooks or textbooks. These are all prepared. These are all made from the plants only. So there are innumerable uses of plants. There are many uses of plants. Now coming to the wildlife, wild animals. So what are wild animals, how they are useful for us. We know wildlife includes animals, birds, insects, and some aquatic animals also. Aquatic life, that means animals which are living in the water. So that can be fish or whale, etc. There are different forms of life exist. Even plants also exist in the water. So these all together we call wildlife. So they are also useful to us. We know that they provide us milk, meat, hides. The skin of animals is used as leather. They provide us wool also. So insects are also available. They are also useful. Say there are some harmful bacteria, but some are useful bacteria also. So such kind of microorganisms also live on the earth, so that they are useful to us. We know some insects like bees provide us honey. Honey bees help in pollination also. Some of the small insects then move from flower to flower, so it creates a pollination, it causes pollination, so that is also very important. Some birds are acting as decomposers in the ecosystem. We know that the birds feed on insects, acts as decomposers. We know some of the birds they are decomposers. How do they do that? Vulture, we know that vulture is such a kind of animal, such a kind of bird, due to its ability to feed the dead animals. We know vulture eats the dead animals. Sometimes in the forest and all, animals may die there, and this will be causing some pollution. But vulture consumes the flesh of dead animals, so that it becomes a vulture is known as a natural cleanser. That means a cleaning. Vulture is cleaning the environment naturally. So they are consuming these dead animals. So animals, big or small, are an integral part of maintaining the ecological balance. We know that all the animals, we have already studied ecosystem where all these are interdependent. So do you know that vultures in the Indian subcontinent were dying of kidney failure? Once there a news came out that vultures in our country, in India, are dying. What is the reason? Due to kidney failure they die, because we already studied that they consume dead animals. When the farmers used a kind of painkiller medicine, diclofenac, that means a kind of painkiller, diclofenac, which is a painkiller, was used to the cattle. Okay, so when these cattle died, the vultures had consumed them, so that it created kidney failure to the vultures. A large number of vultures in our country died. Okay, so that this painkiller was used as it was also, this painkiller was almost similar to aspirin or ibuprofen. That is a medicine painkiller that so that after observing this large scale death of vultures, the government of India had banned the production and the consumption of diclofenac in 2006. So that vulture also acts as a the natural a cleanser, okay, cleanser of the environment. So how animals and plants or the natural vegetation and wildlife important for the nature, or important for our survival. We know that these all are interdependent. So plants and animals are consumed by the humans, so that they are also in different ways they are necessary for the survival of all the living organisms on the earth surface.